Hello, Uncle Ted, your ice cream alchemist here with ice cream every day, and today we're doing something special. We are doing sweet corn bacon ice cream. And I realize that I say a lot of these flavors are special, but this one is really special, and it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart because I've had a lot of people who have completely changed their minds about ice cream and desserts and the nature of food because they tried some of my sweet corn ice cream. Now, today I did something a little different. We added bacon. And let me tell you, you add bacon to just about anything, and it comes out amazing. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the kernels off the ears. And I always do this in a plastic bowl just because I don't want to bang my knife against something hard. And everybody's got their own technique for getting the kernels of corn off the cob. This is what works for me. Now, this corn was some good corn. I got it from a friend of mine, Jeff Detzenberger, great guy. And you know what? If you can support your local farmers, then by all means do it. And the best way to support them is by buying their products. Now, for this recipe, I am using 3 ears of corn. If you got good large ears, go ahead and use 3. But for this, I'm going to be using 4. And so we go ahead and we get the kernels off first. And after we've got the cobs cleaned off, we'll just snap them in half and put them in our pan. Now, Jeff hooked me up with some really good corn. And I gotta say, I was really happy with how it turned out. And actually, this was his idea, because I had told him about the sweet corn ice cream, and Jeff was like, "Well, what about sweet corn bacon?" I'm like, "Okay." So I made some, and he really loved it. And I actually gave some to a little 3-year-old girl. She loved it as well. So this corn, ice cream's got a lot of fans to it. Once you've got the corn off the cob, go ahead and put it in your food processor and puree it. Now, you might need to throw a little bit of skim milk in there, just a splash, to give it some liquid to help it move around. If you've got a blender, I would use that. I broke mine, so I'm going to have to go with what I got. But go ahead and give it a good puree. And it might take a few minutes, but once you've got it pureed, go ahead and put that in the pot with your cobs that you broke in half, and we're going to cook these with 8 cups of skim milk. And yeah, skim milk, a couple reasons for that. One, we're going to reduce this, we're going to cook it down, and I don't want to end up with too high a butterfat content by cooking down all that dairy. So what I want is to be able to have something to cook down towards. I want to be able to get the moisture reduced. This gives me more control, and this way I can go ahead and reduce that down after I've cooked all my corn. But this way I'm going to have plenty of liquid for this to simmer, because we're going to simmer this for about 90 minutes on a low simmer, and that way we get everything cooked down. And once that's done, then we can go ahead and remove our cob pieces out, and then we take out the corn because we're going to go ahead and filter that. Once you remove the cobs, you're going to want to let them cool off before you handle them because they're real hot. But once they cool off, you can go ahead and scrape off any goodies with the backside of your knife into your mixture before you start to filter it. Now, I've got a strainer that I use, and I do it in small batches, and then I go ahead and scrape it out as best I can with my spatula so that I can get all the goodies. This is important. We want to make sure that we get all the pulp out. We don't want to have bits of corn in our ice cream because it actually does freeze pretty hard, and it's just not good to bite into. Jeff really hooked me up with some good corn this time, and I was real happy about that, and I greatly appreciate it. So I'm going to be doing a couple of different videos involving sweet corn ice cream, and this is just one of a couple. And so I hope you enjoy them, and I really hope you get a chance to actually do these yourself. I've had a lot of feedback from people, and they've really enjoyed the videos. Now, make sure to keep the pulp that you strain out. There's actually a lot you can do with it, and definitely keep it because it's not good to waste stuff like that. That's good eating there. It's kind of funny because I gave a batch of this to Jeff to try, and he made a video of himself trying it and posted it on Facebook. and it got a lot of feedback. But in the couple weeks since then, I've had people who have stopped me at, I was at a wedding one time. Somebody stopped me in the grocery store, and they're like, "Hey, you're the guy that made that ice cream for Jeff." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, that sounded really good. I want to try some." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, it's good." And so this is actually good stuff, and it's well worth trying. It really is sort of mind-blowing, and a lot of people don't expect sweet corn ice cream to be this good, and actually it is. And the other thing I want to point out here and kind of come back to is the pulp that you get when you go ahead and strain this is actually real good to use. You can take it, throw it in soups. I'm actually going to make a corn and cheese souffle with it, and depending on how it turns out, I might actually post a video demonstrating that, because it's the Midwest. We eat a lot of corn around here. It's that time of year, and we're real proud of the sweet corn that we get from our local farmers. Here, everybody is either related to a farmer or they're really close friends with one, so we all know where to go to get the good sweet corn. Once you've got all your dairy strained out, go ahead and wash out your pan real good, get all the pulp out of it, then go ahead and put your dairy back into the back in the pan, and we're going to reduce this down. And this process, we're going to reduce it down to a little less than half, and I kept it at a low simmer and just kept stirring it. It took me about 90 minutes, but what that did was it concentrated that corn flavor, it concentrated the sweetness of the skim milk, and got a lot of the unneeded moisture out while elevating my butter fat so that it more closely resembled whole milk. The important thing is to just keep stirring it no matter what you do. Every couple minutes you want to give it a stir so you don't burn the bottom, because we want to reduce it. We don't want to make a paste. Now we're going to go ahead and start building our base. And those of you who have seen my other videos know that I use a pretty standard mixture. We're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of heavy cream along with 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and then we're going to add half a cup of powdered non-fat dry milk, as well as 2 teaspoons of powdered vanilla and 1/8 of a teaspoon of guar gum. And then we're just going to go ahead and mix that up. Once it gets heated up properly, then we're going to go ahead and take it off the heat. It is done. We're going to go ahead and chill that overnight, and then the next day we're going to cook our bacon in the oven. I love cooking it in the oven because it makes it nice and crispy. So we're going to go ahead and lay that out on our baking tray. I've got a rack that I use, and that works out better because it helps the bacon get nice and crispy. We're going to cook that for 15 minutes in a 400-degree oven. And let me tell you, it gets nice and crispy. I use the thin cut bacon because I want it crispy. I don't want an especially meaty bacon because I don't want larger chunks. So after we got that cooked and settled down, cool off a little bit so we can handle it, then we're going to go ahead and put it in our food processor, and we're going to zap it in that. We want to get it down to a really fine powder, or almost like a mince, because we need that to be able to mix in our base. I love this little food processor. It's great for really chopping things up fine. I use it for a lot, and if you ever find one, definitely get one for yourselves. And I really love cooking bacon in the apartment because it makes the apartment smell so much better than before. Trust me on that. But yeah, just go ahead and zap it, and you'll be surprised at how small a package you end up with. But keep your bacon grease. That's really important. Like the saying goes, don't be stupid, be a smarty, save your grease and have a potty. Which I don't know who says, I made it up. But still, keep your bacon grease, because there's a lot you can do. That's liquid gold there, and bacon grease is freaking awesome. Now, once you have all that in, you're going to end up with a cup. It's going to be a small amount, like a 1 measuring cup of bacon. But let me tell you, that bacon is potent. Lastly, all we got to do is churn according to the manufacturer's instructions. And that's it. Now, I always use this as the time to put in the bacon pieces. And you want to do this when the bacon's at room temperature, because if it's cold, it's going to be chunky, and if it's at room temperature, then it's going to be in smaller pieces. You want that in your ice cream. You want the smaller pieces instead of the larger pieces. That way you're not biting into some big chunk of bacon. It just kind of ruins it. So, use it at room temperature. Now, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's been sharing the links, and let you know I really appreciate it. I appreciate the kind comments. And, folks, I've got the best friends in the world. Thank you very much. And I will leave you with this bit of wisdom. If you're not eating ice cream for breakfast, then really what's the point of being an adult?